Everyone's so excited for the news. Hi, my name is Nick Clara. I am the manager for the Office of the Census, and I welcome you all here today. Thank you for being here to talk about a momentous part of our history around the Census 2020 that many were eluded by a solution to. And we are here to talk about the recent Supreme Court decision that held that there will, for now, not be a U.S. citizenship question on the form. Thank you, thank you. So we've convened a number of our most important speakers in the community, in the county, to come today to talk to you about what this means for us and the work that we still need to do moving forward. So the very first person I'm going to bring up to on the stage here is actually going to be Miguel Marquez. He's the Chief Operating Officer of the county here, and he has a few words about the decision.
Thank you, Nick. Sure. My name is Miguel Marquez, M-I-G-U-E-L, last name M-A-R-Q-E-Z, and I am the county's Chief Operating Officer. So number one, I just want to say how proud I am of our county team for taking on the Trump administration in court and once again beating the Trump administration. I'm also grateful to our partners with whom we brought this legal challenge. This coalition of state and local governments and others have continued to challenge the Trump administration, and as I said, have continued to win. But we brought this battle for our community. And we're blessed here in Santa Clara County to have a community that is filled with immigrants. And clearly this move by the Trump administration was one that was anti-immigrant. So with this victory, we will continue to work with our local partners to maximize our decennial count, the census. This count is important for two reasons. First, it involves and results in millions and millions of dollars to the county for the services that we provide. We're talking about dollars that go to roads, that go to hospital services, to go to social services. Very, very important dollars and how they're spent. And also, you heard from some others, but it also goes to things like education. The federal government and the dollars that it provides are critical to the services that we provide. Second, and more importantly in many ways, this decision sends a message to everybody in the county that you belong, that you are counted, that you will be counted. So I'll simply summarize and let others talk in more detail. But we will continue to stand up against the administration and show the rest of the country that Santa Clara County counts. Thank you very much.
You know, in my rush to get started, I forgot to tell you about some of the folks who are here. Directly to my left, of course, the Supervisor Wasserman, thank you for being here. We have representatives from Zoe Lofgren's office. The next person I'm going to bring to stage, to the podium, is James Williams. He's our county counsel.
Good morning. My name is James Williams, and I'm the county counsel for the County of Santa Clara. First of all, I'm very proud for the work that my office has done in leading a coalition of local governments in supporting the efforts of New York and other states in this case. We are very pleased that the court reached the ultimate correct outcome, which is to continue to block the citizenship question from the 2020 census. And we will continue to be vigilant in ensuring that this question stays off of the census so that every person can be counted. I think there's an important takeaway from the decisions of the Supreme Court this morning, not just in this case, but also in the partisan gerrymandering cases that came out. And that takeaway is that it is critically important for everyone to participate actively in the political process. What happened in the partisan gerrymandering cases is the Supreme Court basically said the courts aren't going to get involved in that issue, even though it's such a problem for the functioning of democracy. And the court said it's going to turf that back over to the political branches. What the court said in the citizenship question is that there would be an opportunity for more robust participation in the 2020 census, but it also said that the enumeration clause and the Census Act don't block there from being a citizenship question in the future, on a future census, say the 2030 census. And that is exactly why we need everyone to be involved and engaged in the political process. That's exactly why elections matter so much. And we are absolutely committed here in Santa Clara County to ensuring that for the 2020 census, each and every person is counted. All of us must be counted. We're going to work vigorously. We're going to work vigorously to that end, and my office will be absolutely prepared to ensure that the Census Bureau lives up to its legal obligations to ensure that all census information is protected, maintained confidentially, and that they run a process that allows for everyone to be counted. But everyone else in this community has to step up and do their part, which is to make sure that they actively participate and encourage their friends and neighbors to participate and make sure that every single person in every single household in this community is counted. Thank you.
Sorry, our speaker's a little low, so I'll try to speak a little bit closer to it. All right, so the next person I want to introduce to you is the, someone I look up to, someone who runs the Division of Equity and Social Justice. He's been captaining and championing the census for many years now, and that's my direct boss, David Campos.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, buenos dias. I want to begin by thanking the elected leadership of the County of Santa Clara. As you heard, we have our supervisor, Supervisor Wasserman here. We have other supervisors that have also issued statements about this. We have a united Board of Supervisors on this issue. We also have others in the elected family, representatives in Congress. Zoe Lofgren, Ro Khanna is here. The entire elected family of Santa Clara has been very clear that we in Santa Clara are going to make sure that every resident of Santa Clara, regardless of immigration status, regardless of any kind of identity, is counted in this census. And I want to say that, for those of us who are lawyers and have been watching the United States Supreme Court, this is a very conservative Supreme Court. And what's remarkable about today is that even this extremely conservative Supreme Court actually saw through what the Trump administration was trying to do and is saying, well, we do think that maybe it's possible to have a citizenship question, but we don't buy the arguments that the Trump administration have put forward. We believe that this decision is contrived. That's the word that they use. And we really feel in Santa Clara, and I think the Supreme Court is actually reaffirming what we have said, that the only reason the citizenship question has been put forward has been to keep an undercount of communities of color, of certain people, mainly people like the people who live in Santa Clara. So in that sense, the county has been, I think, reaffirm in its view. We were right to argue that the citizenship question had no role in this process. That said, as much as this was a blow to the Trump administration, there is a small window that is left open. And so we have to remain vigilant. And the point here to the community is this, that in many respects, even if we end up winning on this question, which we believe we will, in many respects, the damage has been done already, because there is a great deal of fear that people have about the census. In some respects, by raising the prospect of including a citizenship question, the fear is there to keep people from participating. So the message from us in county government to all of the residents of the County of Santa Clara is don't be afraid. Don't let that fear keep you from participating, because if you do, then Trump really will win. So we have a responsibility between now and the time that we complete the census to make participation a priority. And I am proud to see the diversity of the county, because I know that all of us working together will do something that the federal government does not want us to do. And I will end with this. Santa Clara County is the 9th most difficult county to count in the country. So we have our fight in our hands. And actually, before I turn it over to Nick, I see that we have one of our supervisors, Supervisor Dave Cortese, who was ready to speak. And again, we thank our Board of Supervisors for having a united front. Supervisor Dave Cortese.
Yes. Thank you for being here, first of all, and thank you for the welcome. This is obviously a big day for all of us in terms of what we now have from the Supreme Court. We've been waiting for this day to get some additional direction as to what next steps are and what we need to be prepared for next. And obviously there's a continuing fight around this issue of keeping immigration status separate and apart from census work. It's important to us that we have a complete count here. It means billions of dollars to us in revenue, in healthcare dollars, and for basic things that people are really concerned about here every day, like transportation dollars for our highways and our interchanges here, which are dependent on us getting formula money from the federal government that's based on population. That's how the federal government operates. We know what this is about, why the White House is trying to push in a different direction. It is absolutely political. It is not only oppressive to people who are here with either expired, temporary, or non-permanent status, because it scares them. It scares them away from participating in a complete count, and that, in effect, ends up costing all of us, not just our immigrant community, but everybody in this community. So we need to continue to be prepared. We will be. The folks behind me, including my colleagues on the Board of Supervisors, like Supervisor Wasserman, Supervisor Chavez, and others, will continue to fight a fierce fight to make sure that justice is served, and that this issue of trying to either push people away from the census or, in the alternative, create some kind of a registry about who's undocumented in this community just won't happen. So we stand with all of you in that regard, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor Cortese, and thank you for being here today. Our next speaker is actually going to be the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Marianne Dewan.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Marianne Dewan, the County Superintendent of Schools for Santa Clara County. And I wanted to speak today to share about the importance of a complete count and its impact on education. Many of you are probably aware that vulnerable children and families depend upon vital services that are provided at schools each and every day, and many of those services depend on funding from the federal government that comes as a result of a complete count census. I want to urge our community to understand the importance of those services. We're talking about services for children with special needs, the free and reduced lunch school meals program, before and after school programs, and other very essential services for children and families. Our schools also represent some of the hardest to count populations. The 0 to 5 community, the special education community, and others are part of the groups of communities that are difficult to count in a census. And our County Office of Education and our school districts are committed to working with all children and families to help ensure a complete count for Santa Clara County. And the Supreme Court's decision today does get us one step closer to that essential count for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dewan. Our next speaker is from the Office of LGBTQ Affairs. It's the Director, Maribel Martinez.
Good morning, buenos dias. I grew up here in East San Jose in a mixed status home. My parents were undocumented for a majority of my childhood, while my sisters and I were US born citizens. Growing up, our home was also home to my aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, extended family, and friends who would stay with us from time to time, either in our house or in our converted garage unit. This is the county that my wife and I have now chosen to start our life together. My younger sister, her boyfriend, their 4-year-old, and our mom live in that childhood home. Santa Clara County has been built by and for diverse families. Families like mine, immigrant, mixed status, intergenerational, LGBTQ. Because this county recognizes that diverse families and individuals count. They are the rich fabric of our community. It has made this area the Valley of Heart's Delight and the Valley of Innovation. The Supreme Court decision today brings us closer to ensuring that we have an accurate census count. But let's be clear. The inclusion of the citizenship question was a tactic to dissuade some groups from being counted, to take away resources and political power. The Supreme Court now has ruled that hate will not win. Here, we will not fear be a barrier in Santa Clara County. Through the county's Division of Equity and Social Justice and the offices that it includes, Office of LGBTQ Affairs, Cultural Competency, Women's Policy, Immigrant Relations, Labor Standards and Enforcement, we will expand outreach and education efforts to hard-to-reach populations. I want the folks in the division to raise their hand. We're here to work hard together. We are a community where we're committed to count everyone once and in the right place, because we believe that young children, highly mobile persons, racial and ethnic communities are important, that non-English speakers, low-income persons, and persons experiencing homelessness are of value, that undocumented immigrants, persons who distrust government, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, non-binary people deserve dignity and respect. We have to get better of collecting data, especially around LGBTQ populations. And that persons with mental and physical disabilities and persons who do not live in traditional housings, they are entitled to supports and services. Diverse families and individuals have always and will always count in Santa Clara County. This is our community. This is our commitment. We all belong. We will do it together.
So in addition to the county, of course, the largest component to our work around the census is community. So the next few speakers will be from the community talking about their efforts around what we've done around the census and their feelings about the question. So the first person I'm going to bring up to the stage, and I hope you don't mind, is the CEO and president of the Silicon Valley organization, Matt Mayhood.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Matt Mayhood, M-A-H-O-O-D. I am the president and CEO of the Silicon Valley organization. Silicon Valley and our region's largest chamber of commerce and business advocacy organization. We have 1,200 members that incorporate 300,000 workers in Silicon Valley. We are pleased to hear about the Supreme Court's decision to not include the citizen question on the upcoming census, because a bad outcome on the census, or having an undercount in the census, would seriously cause us to have bad information. And businesses and government need good information to make good decisions, whether you're in business or government. As it relates to government, we need good information to make decisions about how we invest in transportation, our infrastructure, our housing dollars, and our healthcare dollars that help provide the systems that keep our local economy strong. From the business perspective, businesses need good information about the census count and who's in our community to make decisions about what goods and services they offer their community, where they may expand their operations, where they may locate their operations, and where they may hire workers. So having a great outcome and having an accurate census count is great for our business and great for our local economy. So we're pleased to have ensure that the citizen question is not on the upcoming census. Thank you.
And next is a close friend of mine and someone I've worked with for a long time, which his name is Ben Field. He's the executive officer of the South Bay AFL-CIO Labor Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Ben Field. I represent the South Bay Labor Council, which represents organized labor in Silicon Valley. And I'm here to sound a note of continuing vigilance. The decision today says that the Trump administration cannot move forward with its effort to suppress the count of people in immigrant communities with the record that they established before the court. But it does not stop them from going back and trying to establish a new record. And so we must maintain continued vigilance to ensure that the efforts by this administration to undermine the count are met with resistance. I'm very proud to stand here with a community coalition that has stood by that principle and with a legal team that has led the fight against the Trump administration to ensure that every person is counted. But we must make sure that we stand by that principle. There is a basic principle at stake here, and that is that representation in a democracy like ours requires a count of everybody in our community. And if those people are not counted, then our democracy is undermined. That's exactly what the Trump administration was trying to do with the citizenship question, and we won a battle today to stop them. But we must maintain that vigilance to ensure that everyone is counted. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Our next speaker is Richard Konda. He's the Executive Director at Asian Law Alliance. He's the one who basically taught me what it means to fight.
Hi, I'm Richard Konda, Executive Director of Asian Law Alliance. So today, the Supreme Court decision means for now, the citizenship question will not be on the census. But again, as everybody else has said, we must continue to fight. We must continue to be vigilant. The Trump administration's attempt to add the citizenship question is a partisan political move meant to deter participation by immigrant communities and communities of color. Documents from experts that worked with the Trump administration show that the citizenship question was designed to intentionally discriminate against communities of color. Again, the fight continues to keep that question off the census. If we look at the Trump administration's policies, from the Muslim travel ban to attack on family immigration, to the threat to conduct massive sweeps in the community, to their obsession to obtain a border wall, it's clear that the inclusion of the citizenship question on the 2020 census was just another cynical attempt by the Trump administration to intimidate and erase the Latino, Asian, and immigrant communities and communities of color. Asian Law Alliance is proud to work alongside the county and our community partners to ensure that there will be a complete count in Santa Clara County. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Our next speaker is and someone who taught me about community, and it's Reverend Jethro Moore. He's with the NAACP.
Good afternoon. We agree wholeheartedly with the court's conclusion that the decision cannot be adequately explained. This county, with one of our differences that we have, the wealth disparity, the housing crisis, this is one place where we all come together as a family and say our people are united on this one decision. We will not be undercounted in this county. We stand united. In our unity is our diversity. Our diversity drives our unity. And with that, we're going to go out and count the hardest peoples to count from the lowest places to count. We're going to count all our people in this county and get the right representation. Since 1787, people of color have been undercounted. That's why the census came in. It's so important for us to be counted. When we fight, we win. We have fought and we have stood up in front of #45. And we will continue to stand up and go out, and we challenge our churches, our synagogues, our mosques, everyone to gather their people up and come united and come to the places that the census has set up so that you can participate. Count your people, for we can all stand up and our county can get the right representation and our state will continue to be leader in the world. Thank you.
And our last speaker is going to be Jerry Barus. He is the Director of Civic Engagement at Services Immigrant Rights Education Network. Jeremy has been a longtime advocate both on our immigrant subcommittee and around the census generally. So, Jeremy, please come on.
Good morning, buenos dias a todos. It's always tough following Reverend Moore, but I'm going to try. So, my name is Jeremy Barus, and I'm the Director of Civic Engagement with Services Immigrant Rights and Education Network, also known as SIREN. And today, we achieved a small victory on our path toward justice. But that doesn't mean that we won't stop organizing and mobilizing our communities to participate in the 2020 census. Participating in the census is a demonstration of our collective power. This is more than just one person filling out a form and being counted. It's about entire communities standing up and declaring, amidst awful attacks, that we matter, that we count, that our voices and our perspectives deserve support, representation, and recognition. At Siren, we got an early start by having conversations with immigrant families that we work with to get their thoughts about the census. And we know that immigrant families want the best education for their children. We know that immigrant families want to raise their families in good health. We know that immigrant families want access to vital community resources. And we know that immigrant families want their fair share. Completing the census will bring political power to our communities by making sure that the makeup of Congress and state legislators reflect the increased number of residents who are people of color. And if we are not fully counted in the 2020 census, Congress, state legislatures, and city councils will not reflect our communities of interest. As a community, it is up to us to ensure that our friends and family know the facts and not intimidated by this administration. But let's rise up and show them that our community power is bigger than their hate. Starting this fall, Siren Navigators will be in neighborhoods, knocking on doors, hosting community town halls and forums, and engaging with clients who walk in our doors on a daily basis to educate families about the census and how to participate. In this campaign, we all play a role. So let's not stop here. Let's continue to organize and educate our communities and make sure that we all get a fair share. Thank you.
And next we have a special guest, Supervisor Wassman. Did you want to say a few words?
Thank you. Good morning. You can hear me okay? Yep, fine. Good morning. Mike Wasserman, County Supervisor. I just want to say how proud I am of Santa Clara County once again. There's a reason our country does a census every 10 years, and that is to count and identify and recognize what's going on in this country. The makeup of people. Are people living longer? People of color? People of this, that, family sizes, needs, etc. There's a reason we do the census. And if we're going to do a census, and the reasons we do it are all very good ones, if we're going to do a census, then for God's sakes, get it right. Okay? Numbers matter. If we're going to count, then count everyone. Otherwise, there is no reason for a census. Again, we do a census. I support that. I support the county's efforts to make sure that everyone is counted. That way, the information that is received by doing the census can be used by all our levels of government to provide the services needed for the people that are here. Demographics are changing, whether it be colors, whether it be age, whether it be sexes. We change, and that's why we do the census. So get it right, count everyone, so that we can provide the best services possible and necessary. Thank you.
All right, so those are our speakers for today. I wanted to take a few notes that the county, the Office of the Census, is poised to provide more information as the census moves forward. You know, unfortunately, the fight doesn't end here. We still have to get counted. 2020 is closer than you all think, and or at least more than I think anyway. That's what I think about every night. So we will be producing published materials. We are currently doing research, investigating exactly what those barriers are, and we'll be working with our community members through our Santa Clara County Complete Count Committee and our steering committee, of which I thank all of the efforts from the folks behind me, as well as behind the cameras here, to work on the census and to make sure that we all are visible and counted in 2020. Everyone, 0 to 5-year-olds, the unstably housed, older adults, international students, we all matter, and we will all be counted for the purpose of the census. Thank you.
I don't don't know if anyone has any questions. We're happy to take questions.
Given the diversity here, do you think that Santa Clara County would have been one of the, as far as the Bay Area counties, the most impacted by this?
The question is whether or not Santa Clara County would be the most impacted county in the Bay Area. We're the largest county in the Bay Area. We have 25% of the population in the Bay Area. We are the largest employer in the Bay Area. This county is one of the largest employers in the county, and we produce more housing than anyone in the Bay Area. We have projects, as I alluded to earlier, like BART to San Jose, which are absolutely dependent on support from the federal government, much of which is formula-based. We run one of the largest public health systems and hospital systems in the country. That's not something you see elsewhere in the Bay Area. All of that is dependent on federal funding. So absolutely, this is a situation where, once again, Santa Clara County is required, has a duty to lead on a national level, and we'll continue to do that.
So given that diversity, more people could have been steered away because of that diversity from vote.
Well, we also have a huge immigrant population. Yeah, I was talking about the dollar impacts. You asked about that kind of impact, the humanitarian impact, the impact on people of color, on immigrants, on people who are producing the revenue and income and tax base for this county, who don't happen to be undocumented, as we know, is in the tens of thousands. And if they become fearful about answering questions, about having people knocking on their door, then shame on all of us, and shame on the White House and the President of the United States. That's what we're trying to avoid. That's why this Board of Supervisors has unanimously agreed to fund one of the largest independent census campaigns, I think, by any county, as far as I've heard, certainly in the Bay Area, perhaps in California, to make sure everyone's counted.
Hey, one last question. You said it was the 9th hardest county to count. How so? Why?
The,
The 9th hardest county to count?
I'll let the count experts handle that one. Thank you.
Thanks. So we are the ninth hardest county to count in the nation because of where people are situated. There are, and the state has identified around 14 different factors that make you hard to count. I mentioned some of them: 0 to 5-year-olds, immigrants, people who speak English as a second language, people who would be fearful of the citizenship question. So there are a variety of factors, of which we'll be happy to provide afterwards, that make you hard to count. This isn't like voting. It's not like, well, these people are low propensity voters, they're not registered. There are a myriad of reasons why you would be hard to count. You could be couch surfing. You could be, living in a multi-generational home. All right. All of the same problems that we focus on for hard to count are all present here in Santa Clara County, and that's what makes us the 9th hardest count.
I think that the diversity of the county is such that, in many respects, we are the perfect test case for what impact something like this could have. 40% of our residents are foreign-born. We have about 200,000 undocumented residents in the county. There are mixed statuses in every family. So even if a family member, they themselves are citizens, if their brother or sister is not, they may be unwilling to come forward. So very huge implications for us, and that's why, kudos to the Board of Supervisors, the first board to actually allocate at that time $1 million to do an independent campaign for the census, and I think we're spending more than just about any other county, so we're very proud of that.
So give me an idea, if this question had been on the census, how directly do you think it impacts people in this county?
How directly? First of all, it'll impact taxpayers here, and everyone should know that, regardless of political party, because we'll double down, because it'll force us to go out, just as Deputy County Executive Campos was saying, $1 million might not be enough. We'll have to go out and invest to reassure people, to get people to understand that they're not at risk. Those are the kind of things that we're going to have to do. But the millions of dollars that will be lost based on every 1,000 people who are undercounted is really where the direct impact is. And if you want those exact numbers, we'll get them to you.
Just the money thing, or is there a deeper, broader, more
There's a broader philosophical thing. We think that this community here that produces the highest per capita GDP in the world, with 44% of the population foreign-born, with a multitude of languages spoken. We think it works. We think it works. We think it's a harmonious community. We think it works when people are not afraid of a politics of fear, that our police departments and our sheriff's departments are informed when things are going on in the neighborhoods. We're trying to preserve that. We're trying to hold on to what we have. And frankly, that's the higher risk, that's the higher value that we're concerned about right now.
And I'll add in, funding's based on population, and if we undercount, it's less funding. And less funding is a direct correlation with the services we can provide. Less money, less services. Fewer people counted, less funding. It's that simple for me.
Okay, thank you very much. We're available if any. Well, I think that, this from the very beginning, we believe it's been a tactic of intimidation and fear. And I think that a lot of people have questions about the census and the citizenship question. So this means that we have to do more work to get the message out. Even though we are optimistic that we will be successful, I think that a lot of people will still have questions about this issue. And I think that's part of the tactic. It's not only to get the question in there, but actually to intimidate people into not participating. And as you can see, we have a united front in Santa Clara County to say that we're not going to be intimidated in Santa Clara County. We're going to go out and make sure that every one of our residents is counted. Well, my understanding is that they indicated that they needed to know by June 30th and that the documents would start to be printed. We assume that if they start printing next week, it will not have the citizenship question. Again, there is still a window that they have to make the case. We don't believe that there's a case to be made because objectively speaking, there is no good reason to add the citizenship question. The only reason they wanted to add it is to suppress the count and to gerrymander. So we don't believe they're going to be able to make the case, but we're going to watch it very, very closely. And in the meantime, we're going to go out there and make sure that people know that they have to participate, that it's important for them to not be intimidated by this effort.